Hi guys, it's Cameron, and in this video, I wanted to talk to you about what it's actually like working at the top of the tech industry, working at Apple as an engineer on six figures at the ages of 23, and what it actually looks like, right? And I'm going to tell you basically everything. I'm going to be completely transparent in this video about what it's actually like and also some of the problems that come up with it as well, because you would be surprised, right? But there are some problems that can come from this. So I'm actually going to share that with you, right? So working at Apple, I haven't always done this. I did this from the ages of 20 to 23. And in terms of doing so, it was quite a bit of a bumpy ride to kind of get to this position, right? I started off at 17 years old. I was doing A levels. I was studying like computer science, physics, and IT. And then I was studying a bunch in my evenings and spare time to ultimately break into tech. I was probably studying about 12 hours a day, something like that, maybe 10 hours a day. I would do my A level studies during the day, and then I would come home, and in the evenings till about midnight, I would then do like job market research, studying, looking at recruiters, looking at job posts, what they're typically looking for, all of these things. And I did that for about 4 years straight. And I also did this, of course, practically. So I had like a bunch of interviews. You know, one would go well, so I'd replicate that process. One wouldn't go so well, so I would like try to analyze after the interview what may have said or like how I may have said it that came across wrong. All of those things that ultimately led me into the position into today, right? So, you know, ex-Apple engineer, so on and so on, with the strategies that I now know how to help other people break into tech as well, right? But that did take about 4 years of building out those strategies. That wasn't something that came overnight. And that is the harsh reality of doing it solo, right? If you wish to do it solo and completely on your own, no networking, no mentor, no support, then it will take a long period of time, right? Because you have to go through the same hurdles that somebody else has already figured out, right? And genuinely, I mean, it was worth it 100% because I wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. But I do kind of wish that I did have a mentor when I started out originally, because if I did, I wouldn't have, I guess, like wasted like all of those times where like I tried something and it just didn't work out, right? Like I would do like an 8 month project and thinking it would be amazing and it would get all of this attention and then like nothing, and then I just wasted 8 months. How I may have got to like a final stage of an interview and I would have said like the right thing but just slightly in the wrong way, and I wouldn't have got the offer, right? Because it wouldn't have inspired confidence in my skill set or myself to the interviewer to be the best candidate to be chosen for. And just kind of really everything like that, right? Like it's like a very delicate process. And yeah, if I had a mentor originally, it would have been fantastic, 100%. But yeah, that's just kind of like the reality of doing it solo. But in terms of a bit about my background, right? So essentially, before I got into Apple, I was in second year of university. I was 20 years old, and I was studying computer science at degree level, right? And yeah, I was doing some stuff on the side, as I mentioned, like the strategies and kind of knowing how to be hired and that kind of stuff. But university wasn't teaching me what it needed to actually allow me to land a role, right? Even an entry level role. So I took that upon myself to actually try to do that myself. So I actually found a job posting, and it was by Apple, and it was on LinkedIn, and it was for an information security internship position. Now, information security, it's basically cybersecurity, which is my particular niche. So I decided to apply for that. Now, I wasn't kind of gassing myself up about how it's Apple. I wasn't like, you know, thinking like, oh, wow, this is so cool or anything. I remember applying actually. I applied in a lecture and I just didn't think anything of it after it. 1 month went by, nothing. 2 months went by, nothing. I completely forgot I even applied, right? Like it could have been like a dream I had 3 months ago. But 3 months after, I then got given an email. I received an email from Apple and it said, congratulations, we've chosen you to put you forward for an interview for the internship position that you applied for. Okay, and that was a bit of a shock, right? Because I was thinking like, really? Because I came from a normal university. right? It was a London uni, sure, but it wasn't Red Brick, it wasn't Russell Group, it wasn't Oxford, Cambridge, it wasn't Harvard and in the States or anything like that. Just a normal London uni. I went to University of Greenwich, for those who don't know. And yeah, I was still in my studies. I didn't have kind of like loads to my name at the time, but I was still kind of building myself up. So I was very kind of shocked that I even kind of got interest from Apple in the first place, right? So yeah, and that was basically when I was like a broke uni student at 20, kind of like 2/3 through my degree. Now, I continued with the interview stages, right? I implemented the same strategies that, I curated over those 4 years of trial and error to ultimately get myself close to the finish line. And then once I was at the close to the finish line, it was just kind of like a small added bump to just kind of get over it and actually get that offer. So in the end, I did actually get that offer, and I was an Apple information security intern, and I was that for about 4 months over the summer, with the possibility of a graduate role as well after, if I did well. Now, I did well in the internship, and I was given that graduate role after to start after my studies a year later. So when I graduated in June, July of 2023. And that's actually when kind of my career actually started, right? Like my actual tech career started then. And the reason why I did this is because internships, they are like a good step into your career, but you can't really say, well, this is just me personally, but I wasn't willing to call myself like, okay, I've got a tech career now, when I was just an intern. Because once the internship finishes, you're back being a student, right? So that's kind of what I meant by the quotations. But yeah, so I started at 21. I was on a graduate program. I was on £72,000 a year as an Apple engineer. Now, that is kind of some phenomenal numbers, right? But just before I started, I did have this dilemma, right? This kind of like, not ultimatum, but more just kind of like, what the fuck do I do now? And apologies for swearing. I don't usually swear, but that's genuinely how I felt. And the reason why I felt like this was because I kind of just sat down and I logically thought through the process and the situation I was in. I'm a 21-year-old engineer at the world's biggest tech company on £72,000 a year. Where else is there to go, right? Because usually what happens in the industry is someone will land an entry-level role that they kind of don't want, but it's in tech, so I guess it's okay. They spend 3 years there, then they move to another company to do a similar role, but it's a bit closer to what they actually want to do. And then from there, 2 years after that, they then get into the role that they actually want to do. And then they do that for, say, 4 or 5 years. And then from there, at best, what they can then do is typically they transition or try to get into FANG companies. And typically that can take 2 to 3 years on average because they have like cool down periods where you can only apply once per year. So it'll take 3 to 5 years to do that. And it does take some time, right? And in total, it's about 10 to 15 years if you want to break into FANG. Now, that is an incredibly long time, but that kind of makes sense though, right? Because you're building up your knowledge, your skill sets, your experience, all of these things. But because I did this at 21, right, I genuinely had a problem. And I'm not just saying this, like I genuinely did not know what to do. Because I've effectively saved myself 15 years of my life working in tech. So where can you possibly go from there, right? And this is actually something that is a genuine problem with a lot of high-paying engineers in the world, right? Whether that's London, Singapore, US, Dubai, wherever it may be. Because most of the industry does not pay these amount of numbers, right? They can pay, of course, fantastic numbers, right? It could be, 30, 40K starting all the way up to 60K starting, right? Or in my case, 70, 72. So it can be really high paying, but most of the companies, they cannot have the same budgets as FANG companies like Apple. So it comes into this situation where you kind of effectively alienate yourself from the industry indirectly by accident by just simply going to FANG, right? Because, and this is the dilemma I had, because I thought, okay, well, I'm at Apple now. It's the world's biggest tech company. There's not really many other places that I can go from there. Plus, alongside that, even if there was, can they satisfy the same budget for extra compensation, right? Because typically you want to earn more money over time. So I thought, okay, well, what companies can do that? And the only ones I really found was fintech, so finance technology, so trading firms, investment banks, quants, all of these things. Startups, if they have good capital and funding from investors and angel investors, and also AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. And that's really the only places that you can actually go, right? That can actually, one, offer you good career progression, two, can offer you the compensation that you're looking for, and three, increases your reputation in the industry as well. And that is the dilemma I had when I first started at 21, and this was before I even started my graduate program. I just thought, well, what do I even do now, right? Now, and that is a very interesting dilemma to be in, right? It's kind of like my steak's too juicy. You know that quote, like where it's like, my cake's too buttery, my steak's too juicy. It's basically that. It's like, but it is an actual problem at the same time, right? Because it's like, well, where can you go, right? And that's why typically people just have like a long tenure in FANG companies like Apple, because it's like, like 10, 15, 20 years, because where else are you going to go, right? It's like, so that is an actual kind of concern that I had, right? Overall, it's a good concern to have, 100%, because there's always going to be, I guess, like another company out there that would pay you more. But overall, that's something that I wanted to kind of bring light to, because I can imagine that's not what most, FANG engineers would say, like Apple engineers and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of, mention that. But overall, the lifestyle was fantastic, right? So when I was there as a graduate, I came off of the graduate program, got a promotion to mid-level, stayed there for a year after, and then moved on. But whilst I was there, the lifestyle was fantastic, right? Like the top of the tech industry, it's fantastic, right? When I was an engineer at Apple, I had hybrid work. I was paid ridiculous amounts of money for my age. And like, I even get comments on like my TikTok and Instagram and sometimes even on my YouTube, where it's like, there's no way Apple paid you that much money, right? And I show proof, like I show my bank statements and stuff like that on like TikTok and Instagram, but they do, right? And they genuinely do, because it shows initiative, it shows confidence, it shows your skill set, and also in a very specific light as well to attract this attention in the first place. But this is something that they, of course, 100% do, right? And yeah, you should never settle for less. You should always settle for what you actually want from life and from companies as well, whether that's benefits, compensation, anything like that. But yeah, of course, 100% that they do. So yeah, in terms of my lifestyle there, it was fantastic. There was like incredible quarterly social events where you would go to like augmented reality for like darts. So like you would throw darts on a board with your teammates, you have like a little bit of a competition there, and it would then count up the scores and see who won. It would be, I can't remember the name of it, but there's one where it's like shot put, right? But it's like augmented reality of like discs flying across a screen. You've got fancy meals out in London. You've got all of these things, right? So the quarterly events were fantastic, 100%. And the people that you work with there, they are like some of the best people you'll ever work and even meet, right? Work with and meet, because they genuinely care about you at like a personal level. They're incredibly intelligent, so you can learn so much from them, which is a fantastic thing for your career progression. And they're just overall really, really nice people. And that is something that, I mean, technically, like, so my first role out of university was Apple, so I'm not too sure how it's like in other companies. But because it's Apple, I can imagine that, it does attract that kind of level, right? So yeah, 100%, you can definitely get a lot of career progression there. You can learn a whole bunch from these amazing people. So yeah, and then alongside that, you've also got kind of like free food, free drink, snacks, and that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, it's fantastic. You get like remote work if you want to use it. You get really good reasonable PTO. You get a refresher of RSU stocks. So basically every year you'll be given restricted stock units by an added amount, and then that'll go on top of your current amount of stocks. And I'll be transparent with mine. So I had, I can't even remember the number at the moment actually. Oh wait, no, I think I do. So I had like $74,000 worth spread across 4 years, and after one promotion that doubled. So then it was like $140,000 spread across 4 years. So yeah, like the kind of re-up on the stocks is fantastic as well. So yeah, everything was brilliant there, but yeah, it did kind of bring to light that problem of like, well, where do I go now, right? What companies can afford me, right, and my skill set? Well, I don't have to take a pay cut to go there, and also too, that increases the reputation and things like that as well. So that is something that I genuinely had to consider. But that is something that can happen, right? But of course, that's a good problem to have. It shouldn't ever deter you away from wanting to work in these amazing big companies or even working in tech in general. But it's something that you should be aware of, right? If you do fantastically well, that's amazing. But no matter what kind of realm in life this is, there's always going to be like a problem that is associated to it that is created from that success. And that's something that I wanted to kind of portray on to you guys here today, and also specifically what my life was like working at Apple as well. So yeah, and by the way, guys, like if you're looking for any help in terms of breaking into tech, or you're collecting a lot of rejection emails, or you're being ghosted a lot, or you're getting rejected by FANG and that kind of stuff, or whatever it may be, what I'll do is I'll pop a link in the top of the description where you can actually book in a call with me, and I can kind of help you a bit further with that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to mention for this video. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video.